Hey, Astros haters. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they're back.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all the Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, I'm begging you, please, by all means, where is it? Call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and this is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where I'm doing double duty this year. I am doing Locked On A's 5 days a week, Locked On MLB 5 days a week. My goal is to host all 30 teams 5 days a week. I don't think that's physically possible to do because it takes about a half hour to record one of these things and sometimes a little bit longer. And you have to prep for them. So that means 15 hours a day recording podcasts. And then you actually have to come up with you don't just hit play. I know some people think I just hit play and just start talking, but you actually do have to do a tiny bit of homework for them. I guess this is where cloning comes in. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. If you're going to be posting on any of those glorious social media sites that are making all of our lives better, make sure you use that hashtag EverydaySully. Give us an idea who's listening to us every single day. And hey, today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. The right stay can make you the fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And I'm not going to go too deep into Shohei Ohtani today. If I were just really begging for clicks, I would have Shohei Ohtani's name all over every episode I do. But hey, happy birthday, Shohei Ohtani. He's 30 years old. He's over the hill. Believe it or not, he's played, this is his seventh season in the majors. It doesn't seem like he's been here for that long. I guess the weird time warp that we went into between 2020 and 2022 has compressed all time and space. But he is a two-time MVP. And how's he doing for LA? He leads the league in runs scored. He leads the league in home runs. He leads the league in slugging. He leads the league in OPS plus, total bases, a bunch of other stats that I don't understand. He has 17 stolen bases. He has 27 homers, 17 stolen bases. He's probably going to go 30-30 this year. So without the pitching, there you go. And can I also say, I am so glad that the story about Shohei Ohtani is his 30th birthday. He has not missed a step, at least as a hitter. We'll see how he does next year as a pitcher. And we're not talking about betting. We're not talking about scandals. And that story that came out is so far in the rearview mirror, it's delightful. And that was a story that as I said, I was 100% wrong about. I never thought Shohei Ohtani was gambling on baseball. I thought he was covering for his buddy. I turned out to be wrong, and I can't tell you how happy I am that I'm wrong about that, because now we can just appreciate the glory that is Shohei Ohtani. Now, whether or not that will translate in a World Series title, that is yet to be seen. The LA Dodgers are in first place pretty comfortably, thank you very much. They have a 6.5 game lead over a pretty good San Diego Padres club. The Phillies look better, and they have injuries, but we've seen the National League pennant has been nothing but a wild crapshoot since 2019, with the lone exception of the Dodgers year in the COVID season, which was a crapshoot in of itself. By the way, no one has attempted at the trivia question, and I want to move on. So the answer to the trivia question that I had before, which was who hit the first home run in Oakland A's history, who's the first Oakland A player to hit a home run, it was Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson in 1968. I have another Oakland A's oriented question for trivia at the end of the podcast. By the way, check out Locked On A's, where I talk about, say it with me, the best team in baseball this July. There'll be a better team this July who's won all their games and has a Pythagorean win theory over 900. Come on, let's go see it happen. The A's, they're on fire. Can't stop them now. We're doing a live stream now, and Jonathan Curran asks, how's Ipe doing anyway? Well, I'll let you know when we do our FanDuel spot later in today's episode. A lot of people hate the Astros, and for good reason. They cheated. You may not like that. We found out they did. They one of the closest World Series we've ever seen in recent years, and one of the teams was playing games and doing weird stuff to cheat. And if you don't think that it mattered, it did. They did cheat. And yes, the Red Sox cheated also in 2018. And if you want to not acknowledge the 2017-2018 World Series, kind of like I don't acknowledge the Jaws sequels, you're more than welcome to do that. But the Astros did indeed win the World Series in 2022. But anytime there's any, playing games or anything, any tomfoolery with the Astros, they're going to be reminded of their recent cheating years. See also the New England Patriots. But it wasn't that long ago that this looked like, all right, this is the year where the Astros momentum has ended. Let's go back. Let's rewind the clock. Let's be Superman and spin the earth backwards and show us June 28th. 2.5 weeks ago? I'm not talking about going back to the days of J.R. Richard and Joaquin Andujar. I'm talking about June 18th, approaching late June, and the Astros were in free fall. The Astros were, at that time, 7 games under 500. They were tied with Texas and barely ahead of the Angels. The Astros were in that sort of which way do you go crossroad, where either A, they were going to find themselves and have a nice surge, but if they had a bad couple of weeks, they would have been falling in with the Angels and, God willing, the A's as those teams that just are not in it. They're not in it. We're done. And that would have basically have clinched the American League West for the Mariners before we hit July. Because at that point, on June 18th, the Mariners had opened up a 10-game lead and were the only team in the division with a winning record. The Astros were falling like a rock. The Rangers were collapsing. The Angels stink, and the A's don't even know where the hell they're going to play next year. And since then, the Astros are 12-2. They have won 12 of their last 14 games. They have been on a rampage, and they've outscored their opponents 92-51. And at that same time, the Seattle Mariners have done a complete Wile E. Coyote. They have dropped 10 of their last 14 games, and it was almost 11 of their last 14 as they were losing yesterday late in the game against Corbin Burns. Now, the Mariners did rally and give them credit for that, but it prevented a sweep. And even with that victory yesterday, that 10-game lead has been reduced to 2. It is a 2-game lead for Seattle. Do you know how hard it is to scrape away in a 2-week span, a little more than 2-week span, to scrape away 8 games from your lead? More than an entire week of games have been reduced in just over 2 weeks, and the two teams didn't play head-to-head. It would make all the sense of the world if the Mariners and the Astros faced each other and the Astros swept them. But no, they didn't face each other. This was all the Astros righting the ship and the Mariners forgetting how to hit. Now, the Mariners are playing the Blue Jays starting today. They're brethren of the 1977 expansion. And the interesting thing about both those teams is they're both teams wandering in the woods. Both teams have lost 10 of their last 14 games. Now, the Blue Jays are a team that are probably going to sell. I don't know why they haven't fired the manager, but they're a bit lost. And maybe that's exactly the home cooking that they need. Castillo is pitching against Gausman, which is a decent pitching matchup. The Astros are going to be playing Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team. And Lopez is pitching for the Twins. And so this is a moment for the Mariners to maybe get a hold of things. But if the Astros win and Toronto wins, suddenly it's a 1-game lead. And in a couple of weeks, the Astros and the Mariners will be playing each other head to head. I think the Astros need to be aggressive to fill some holes, but they've been aggressive about some other things. They cut loose Jose Abreu. They said, this isn't working. Bye. And I like when teams say, hey, I'm not necessarily saying I like when they cut players. I'm a fan of Jose Abreu. It's a shame that he didn't work out there. But if they're saying, hey, let's be proactive. The Astros are going to make smart moves to fill in some holes. And you're starting to see Jeremy Pena is starting to hit, which is like having a trade. I know fans are out there, hate the Astros, but there is a realistic chance that this team that just 2.5 weeks ago looked like it was going to fall face first into the worst teams in the American League bin could come around and actually win the American League West. And if that happens with Seattle, I'm sorry, some major changes have to happen in the offseason. We come back, we're going to take a look at another rivalry, a more traditional rivalry that's heating up this day after the 4th of July. Hey, this episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. I've mentioned this before, but I went on a really great baseball trip recently where I went to Buffalo, where I saw the Buffalo Bisons. I went to Syracuse, I saw the Syracuse Mets. I drove all the way to Cooperstown. And in each place, I had to find a really, really great place to stay. I found a lovely hotel in downtown Buffalo. Buffalo's a nice city, by the way. I don't know if you've ever been there before. I went to a really safe hotel near the campus in Syracuse, and then a fantastic bed and breakfast, just walking distance to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And where did I line up all those places? I got them all at Booking.com. They have all the best deals for you, and they can put you in that hotel that's so nice and so perfect. Even if in your rival city, you're going to love your time there. So from hotels that look over the stadiums to that fabulous bed and breakfast where I can walk right to the Hall of Fame. Booking.com has so many choices across the United States for your summer travel. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city. So book today at Booking.com on the site or the Booking.com app. What is that again? That's Booking.com, Booking.yeah. We just finished one of the single best times of the year to be a sports fan when you have all the different things happening. You had the NBA Finals, you had the Stanley Cup playoffs, and what a great ending that was. Oh, gosh, I just want to keep my Sports Jones going. FanDuel, they let me help my Sports Jones going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets at any time, and I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody and for everyone all day, summer long, or whatever order those words were supposed to be in. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Hey, where is your hub for baseball news, for sports news, for any news in the world of sports? You got to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories in all of sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube and on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Had to cough. I just finished doing a Locked On A's. Now I'm doing this one, and my throat said, hey, enough of this. There's only one team that's been in a bigger free fall over the last couple of weeks than the Seattle Mariners, and that's been the New York Yankees. The Yankees were on top of the world. They were pulling a Leo DiCaprio in the front of the Titanic at that same proverbial June 18th day. They were a few games ahead of a very good Baltimore Orioles team. They're the best record in the American League. And now they've dropped 11 of their last 14 games. But it's the way that they've been losing them. I mentioned this before, the first third of the season between Stroman and Heel and Carlos Rondon and Nestor Cortez, the Yankees starting pitching staff was tremendous. They did all this without Garrett Cole, keeping the team in first place without Cole. They had a phenomenal first half of the year where they looked like, I said from the beginning, I never thought they were as bad as the team that went 82-80, and I didn't think they were as good as the team that won 99 games. I thought they were a mid-90 win team. And they got off to a fabulous start, and you're like, wow, if they could just put Garrett Cole back in this rotation, and this rotation could have any semblance of keeping this up, this Yankee team could potentially be a pennant winner. Does anybody see this Yankee team as a pennant winner right now with their pitching staff the way it is? Because you didn't know what you're going to get out of Heel. And for the first third of the season, he was an all-star. You didn't know what you were going to get out of Carlos Rodon after his disastrous first year with the team. First third of the season, he pitched like an all-star. You didn't know what you were going to get out of Stroman, who pitched wonderfully the first third of the season, and Nestor Cortez, who came back from injuries and pitched really well. They've all turned into pumpkins. They've all been bad, not just struggling, bad. Marcus Stroman got his butt kicked yesterday, and the Yankees, and I can't believe this is true, but I guess it is, for the first time since the advent of interleague play in 1997, the Yankees have been swept at home by a National League team. I thought for sure like the Braves or the Dodgers or some team would have done it at one point, but no, it was the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Reds are not a bad team, but holy Ron Oster. This team, I mean, they just outpitched the Yankees. They got the big hits when they needed to, and the Yankees just played sloppy baseball. And there comes a point in each of the last bunch of seasons, yes, including the year when they won 99 games and went to the League Championship Series, where the Yankees go on little slides where nothing seems to go right. And if you're a Red Sox fan, and many of you are, this has got to be a sense of glorious timing for you, because the Red Sox are now going to Yankee Stadium with a wobbly Yankee team. And the Red Sox have played quite well, thank you very much. They swept Miami. Sure, Miami is not the Miami they were last year, but the Red Sox had to make up for lost time and make up for lost ground. And their pitching's been pretty dang good. Nick Pivetta pitched like an ace yesterday, and you have to win those games. And here we are. It is the 5th of July. Games are going to be starting in just a few hours, and the Red Sox are currently, with roughly 90 games in their pocket, are currently a playoff team, which I didn't think they'd be. You didn't think they'd be. I don't think the Red Sox should be overly aggressive in the trade market, but I think they should maybe take a flyer or two on a player. By the way, Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson have both been DFA'd. Imagine going back to 2021 when Jose Abreu was the defending AL champion, AL MVP. Tim Anderson was a perennial all-star, looked like he was going to be the next MVP candidate. The White Sox looked like they were going to be the AL Central champion in perpetuity. And if he told you, like, in 3 years, not only would the White Sox be the worst team in baseball, but you could just pick up Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu for nothing because they've been DFA'd. Life is weird. And I got to think a contender should take a flyer on one of those two players to say, hey, look it, build back up your credibility. We're not asking you to be a superstar. Just give us a couple of productive months and see what you can do. But the Red Sox are going to New York. And, of course, the Yankees could find their footing and clobber the Red Sox. Tanner Houck is pitching for the Red Sox. Tanner Houck has had a good year. Nestor Cortez is pitching for the Yankees. Nestor Cortez had a good first third of the season, but he's been hot garbage recently. And Jonathan Curran, who knows a few things about the Yankees, says, without Judge and Shoto, we would be worse than the A's by a good bit. All right, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit, Jonathan Curran. But you do see, like yesterday, the Yankees scored 4 runs. 2 of them were garbage time runs when they're already down 8-2. It just seems like when you pick up a Yankee game in recent days that they're down early and they're on their heels early. Now, they're doing this with Soto having an MVP caliber season. They're doing this with Judge having an MVP caliber season. Judge was the player of the month in June, and deservedly so. And Soto can ask for the biggest contract by anyone not named Shohei Ohtani. And yet here we are. Now, if you're a Yankee fan, and Mr. Curran, I know you are, you got to hope that things that the ship is steered correctly. Now, the Orioles are playing the A's. Now, the A's are, that's right, Jonathan Curran pointed out that Judge is back-to-back players of the month. Remember that lousy April? He's probably going to win the AL MVP this year. The A's are the best team in baseball in the month of July. Look it up. It's true. And they're playing the Orioles. So the Yankee fans should be big A's fans over this weekend as the Red Sox and Yankees are facing off. There's another team in New York, however, and I've been getting a lot of guff from their fans, and I shouldn't be, because I'm right. And they should consider a trade and a trade partner, and pretty soon, because the clock's a ticking. Hey, let's talk a little bit about our good friends over at Gametime, because I've been going to a lot of ball games. I mentioned the fact that I've been to the games in Syracuse and in Buffalo. I'm going to be going to games at Dodger Stadium this year. I've already been to Oakland. Easy to get tickets there. I'm going to be going to San Francisco pretty soon. Got to use Gametime. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from the seats with our lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You get zone deals. My favorite place to sit, second deck, behind home plate, a little bit along the first base line. I like that angle. So I say, hey, find that zone and give me the best deal in there. And give me a seat view. You got a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. If the lowest price guaranteed, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better deal. So what you need to do is this. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. The lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. They are guaranteed. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channel app. San Diego Padres are a wild card team right now, and a pretty good one, too. There's a lot of talent on that team. And they're the exact kind of team that could make the playoffs as a wild card team and have a hot few weeks, like the Diamondbacks did last year, like Philadelphia did the year before that, like the Braves did in 2021, where I know they were division title, but it was a weak division, like the Nationals did in 2019. Starting to see a pattern here for National League pennant winners. Make the playoffs, have a good couple of weeks in October. Plenty of talent on that San Diego team to do just that. Now, they have Fernando Tatis is injured. He's going to come back. But they could use a little bit of depth. Not talking about making a huge trade. They made the huge trade. That was Luis Arraez. I'm not talking about making the giant deals to sort of, oh, my goodness, we have to bring in superstars. They brought in Arraez and Dylan Cease. They need depth on this team. They need a reliever. They need a starter. And they need a bench bat or someone who can fill in a little bit on the outfield. And what team can provide them with all of those things but the New York Metropolitans? The Mets could put together a deal where they could get rid of the Brandon Nimmo contract. They can get out from under the Nimmo deal, which is still will be hanging around till the end of the decade. If they say, take Nimmo's deal, and he'll give you a quality bat, fill in the outfield, be another solid bat, and San Diego has a shot to go to the World Series for the first time since 1998 and have a chance to win their first World Series since the made-for-TV movie, The Kid from Left Field with Gary Coleman. To finally be able to do that, to take on Brandon Nimmo's deal, they don't seem to have any compunction about signing big players, and throw in Jose Quintana and throw in Adam Ottavino or Jake Diekman. Get yourself a back-end starter, a reliever, and a hitter. You can do all three of those things. And if it costs San Diego one minor leaguer and taking on one quality minor leaguer and taking on Brandon Nimmo's contract, then I think that's a good deal for the Padres because it fills all their holes. And it'd be a good deal for the Mets because Quintana's not coming back next year. Ottavino is not coming back next year. And you can shed the Nimmo contract, which gives you a little more wiggle room if you want to go big time after Juan Soto, which the Mets should do. But the Mets fans come after me again. Sully, you're on the Mets. You hate the Mets, la-da-da-da-da. The Mets have went on an amazing June. They did go on an amazing June. Oh, they're in it. They're in it to win it. Great. Remember they had that amazing June? Before that amazing June, they had a team with a losing record on the outside looking in of the postseason. They had an amazing June. Now they are a sub 500 team on the outside looking in of the postseason. They took an amazing June to keep them at status quo. Yes, I know they've chipped away at the lead by a lot of games, but do you know what? St. Louis and San Diego are both playing better. And the other thing is you have to look at this. It's you're in or you're out right now. It is the end of July is the trade deadline. Do you think, San Francisco's breathing down their neck. They're tied with Arizona. Cincinnati is showing they can play well. Pittsburgh is playing better recently. It could be a scrum. The Mets had an unbelievable June, and not for one single day I keep track of who's in the playoff picture after Memorial Day. Before Memorial Day, the sample size is too small. After Memorial Day, I keep track of who is in a playoff spot each day. And not for one day have the Mets been in one of the three wildcard spots since Memorial Day. The Pirates have, the Nationals have, a bunch of other unlikely teams have. The Giants have a bunch of days. The Mets, despite a phenomenal June, have yet to crack that level. And here they are. They're sub 500 on the outside looking in, have tradable assets who won't be on the team next year. If you could combine it, Rubik's Cube something together, that a team like San Diego, who realizes their window to win might be exactly now, who knows that a bat like Nimmo, they're not asking him to be an all-star. They're not asking him to be a superstar. They're asking him to be a productive bat who can play different positions and give them depth. That's what they need him to be. The Mets can shed that, get rid of a couple of players who are not going to be even on the team, give them payroll flexibility and one good young minor leaguer. And you can't do that because what? The Mets are a championship caliber team right now? It's July. Soon there'll be 100 games into the season. The trade deadline. You won't be able to get rid of Nimmo's contract or anything after a few weeks. Where am I wrong? How am I wrong? Explain to me how I'm wrong about this. The Mets have bigger fish to fry. And to lose a chance to make a couple of smart moves that'll put them in a better position for Juan Soto. There's your fish. He could play in New York, and he's playing for a Yankee team who looks like they're going to be a wild card team and maybe 2 and out for all we know. What loyalty does he have to the Yankees? His loyalty is to be a giant pile of money and a big market. So free up some more money. Say, here's your spot, Sonny, in right field. We've got a team all ready for you. But I guess you can't because the powerhouse Mets, a losing team who are 2.5 games out of a playoff spot, with the trade deadline looming, you can't stop their momentum. Tell me how I'm wrong, because I'm not. Here's your trivia question. The A's have won many World Series titles in both Philadelphia and in Oakland, and have had several legendary managers. Who is the only person to manage the A's to the World Series who is not currently in the Hall of Fame? Only one A's manager has led the A's to the World Series who's not currently in the Hall of Fame. That's your trivia question. All right, did 2 episodes today. Probably taking the weekend off. Who knows? It depends on what happens. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Going over the fireworks of the 4th of July and wishing happy birthday to a scandal-free Shohei Ohtani. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.